The views and opinions expressed in the DILLIGAF podcast are those of the host alone and are not intended to express those of any other person, business, or entity. The DILLIGAF podcast is for entertainment only. These are my opinions and should not be interpreted as facts or advice. Think for yourself.
Keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh, yeah. I think that we've all had enough.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the DILLIGAF podcast, talking about anything and everything that interests me. If it makes me think, laugh, cry, scream, rage, or say what the fuck, you'll hear about it. My name's Tom. I'm your host. I want to thank everybody for checking out the show. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, comment, all that kind of stuff really helps out the show. Make sure you're following on social media. It's at DILLIGAFpod on all socials. That's at DILLIGAF_pod on all socials. And you can find all that and more on my Linktree, which is Linktree/DILLIGAF_pod, or just scan the little QR code right there in the corner of your screen if you're watching the video feed of the show. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's dilligafpod@gmail.com. So yeah, it's been a minute since I've talked to all of you guys. I took some time off for the holidays, and hey, life happens, and I'll be real, I got lazy for a little bit and just haven't recorded any new episodes. So I'm planning on changing that here. We're in a brand new year. It's 2025, and I'm planning to get a lot more consistent with putting episodes out, because I do want to grow the audience for this show. I love podcasting. I love just the whole process of recording, editing, all that kind of stuff. And I really enjoy being able to get my thoughts out there in just kind of like an open forum like this. So I want to get a lot more consistent with putting these episodes out on a weekly basis, or at the very least every other week. But ideally, I want to put a new episode out every single week. So we'll see how that works out. But again, thank you to everybody for checking out the show. And yeah, got an interesting topic today. Today, we're going to talk about education, specifically the American education system. I mean, obviously, I'm in the United States, so that's the education system that I came up through. I don't have the knowledge or experience to speak about education in any other country, so we're specifically talking about the American education system, and even more specifically, the public education system. There's private schools out there. They can do pretty much whatever the hell they want, whether it's like a what do you call it, a religious school, or just in general private school that wealthy people tend to send their children to. But yeah, I'm just talking about the American public education system, because it's kind of fucked up and it kind of sucks. I'll be honest with you. I think there is a lot of wasted time in the American education system. I think there's a lot of unnecessary bullshit in the American education system. I mean, the public education system ideally should be getting children ready for adulthood, for the real world, getting them ready to live, to take care of themselves, to find a job, all that kind of fun stuff that goes with being an adult. And I think there's a lot of areas where the American education system fails at that, because I think it gets into a lot of stuff that people just don't need. That should be the focus of the public education system, to give people the tools, skills, and knowledge that they need to make it in the world. And we'll start with the basics. I mean, reading and writing. Those are probably the two most important things that need to be taught in the public education system. And that's done. It is done. But I think the way that it's done could be so much better. I mean, obviously, when you're starting with young kids, 4 or 5 years old, preschool, kindergarten, that kind of thing. You're teaching them bare bones basics from the beginning. Their letters, their numbers, how to put those letters together to make words, how to put those words together to make sentences. Uh, simple stuff like see the dog run, and that kind of thing. So I think the primary grades like that kindergarten, first, second grade, I think they do all right because they're, like I said, just doing the bare bones basic 1 + 1 = 2 ABCs, and teaching them how to write these things. But as you progress through the grades, I think there's a lot of repetition that's not necessary, and I think there's a lot of the content that we teach these kids that it really, in the grand scheme of things, does not matter. I think, and this obviously this is all just my opinion. That this is I'm basically telling you how I would do it if I was in charge of the education system. I mean, you need reading, writing, grammar, basic math, and I stress basic math. Your average person is not going to need advanced geometry and trigonometry and that kind of stuff throughout their life. They're just not. Basic science, and again, I stress basic history. I personally think it's important to learn about history, learn about all the horrible shit that has happened in the world and in our own country throughout the years, so that we don't repeat it. That's the important thing about learning history. You learn about all the bad shit that's happened throughout the course of history so that we don't do it over again. Art and music, I believe those should be taught, but I think they should be taught very differently than they are right now, and I'll get into that. Physical education, I do think that's important, but again, I think it should be done differently than it's being done right now. Language, I think it's good for everybody to learn a second language, but again, I think it should be a little different than it's being done now. And I think we need to add in another class for every grade across the board. Life skills, shit that you need to survive in the world. And I will definitely get into that. But let's start at the beginning here. Reading. Obviously, like I said, when kids are small, they're starting kindergarten, they're learning their ABCs and that kind of thing, learning how to put letters together into words, words together into sentences. And as you progress through the grades, obviously your reading level should increase. Like you should be able to read much more complex things in eighth grade as compared to second grade. But I think, and again, this is my opinion, I think kids should be given, especially in the technological age that we live in, kids should be given a little bit more freedom as far as what they read. I don't think it should be 100% up to the teachers. Like, you have to read these books this semester. Why? Half the shit that, I know this applies to me, half the shit that teachers assigned to read throughout school is boring as shit. I'm sorry. It just does never held my interest. It wasn't anything at all that I was interested. I don't care that they're classics and shit like that. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Does me reading fucking Shakespeare my freshman year of high school have any bearing on my life today? No, none, zero. And let's face it, if you're reading fucking Shakespeare, that's like reading a foreign language in and of itself. The type of English that was used in that time. I think at the very least, kids should be given a list of books that are at their grade level, whatever grade level that might be. Say these are the books that you have to choose from for this semester, and you have to read, I don't know, 5 of them throughout the semester, and just write a summary, or basically a book report, so that I know you actually read it. That's how I think the reading part of education should work for every year, because like I said, we live in a technological age. It's not like people have to go out and search these books down. You can download them on your iPad or your laptop or whatever. It's much more easily to access pretty much whatever book you want. So I think they should be given a little bit more freedom, a little more flexibility with what they have to read every year. And I think you would see a vast improvement in engagement and grades because if kids are able to read something they actually like, something that holds their attention, and they're able to select it themselves, they're going to be more invested in it, and they're going to actually put the time into it. That's just my theory. That's how I feel about it. That's how I wish it would have been in when I was in school. If I would have been able to select what I had to read for my classes, I would have been a whole lot happier. Don't get me wrong, I did well in school, but I mean, I graduated at top of my class in high school, but yeah, most of the stuff that kids have to read for school is boring as shit. Give them some variety. Let them have a say so in it. And that's going to bring us to writing. Like I said, let them have more of a choice in their reading material, and just so the teacher knows they read it, write a summary of it. But again, the way that it was always done when I was in school, you have to write a 5-page report on the why. Why does it have to take 5 pages to sum up a book? That's something that never made any sense to me and still doesn't. Putting minimum length on writing assignments. You have to do 1,000 words, or you have to do 5 pages. No, take as much, as many words or as many pages as it takes for you to sum up the material in your own words. Don't just give me a broad generalization, but give me some detail, but take as many words, as many pages as you feel is necessary. Again, give these kids some flexibility. Stringent stuff like that, it's stressful, number one, but not everybody works that way. Just because one kid may take 5 pages to sum this up doesn't mean his summary is any more valid than the kid who only took 3 pages or a kid who took 2 pages. Some flexibility, because everybody learns different. Everybody works differently. These are individuals you're dealing with. You can't treat them all the same. And that's how school has always worked. Everybody's treated exactly the same, like the freaking robots. And that's why you have so many kids having so much trouble in school, because they don't work that way. Grammar is another thing that it's important. People need to know how to speak and write properly. Notice I haven't talked about how to write. People complain so much that cursive writing isn't taught in schools anymore. Why? It's not necessary anymore. It's not a necessary skill. The only thing somebody really needs to know how to do in cursive writing is sign their name. That's really it. Because everything now is technology based. So they need to know how to type more so than write. I mean, writing's important. Don't get me wrong. They need to know how to write, physically write with a pen and paper. But 99% of what they do that has to be quote unquote written is going to be typed on a computer. I think that's a much more important skill to learn nowadays than cursive writing. It's kind of like driving a stick shift. Yeah, it's a skill, but it's no longer a necessary skill. Unless you have some type of job where you need that skill. But it's not universally necessary for everybody anymore. Same thing with cursive writing. It's just not necessary. It's not a necessary skill anymore, and it's not going to be ever again. Unless, we lose all of our technology and go back to the dark ages, then, but even then, as long as you know how to write, I don't care if it's printed, cursive, whatever. As long as you know how to write and it legibly so somebody else can read it, but a majority of that type of thing is now done with typing. So typing is something that kids need to learn more so than cursive writing. But like I was saying, grammar again important. You need to know about how to create a cohesive sentence, how to write a paragraph, what type of punctuation to use so that people can read it properly. Obviously very important, and it's something that should, advance throughout the school years. There really not too much more I can say about that. I mean, that kind of folds in with reading and writing and grammar. That should all be one class. Reading, writing, grammar should be one class, like every year from kindergarten through senior year of high school. That should be one class: reading, writing, and grammar. It doesn't necessarily have to be called that. Like when I was in school, we called it English class, whatever. But that's basically one class. So now we get into math, and here's one. Everybody needs math to some extent, but like I said earlier, very few people are ever going to need like advanced geometry or trigonometry or any higher level math than just the basics. I mean, what people need is add, subtract, multiply, divide, decimals, fractions, and measurements. That's it. That's really the only math that you need to survive life. And some people won't even use all of that. I mean, let me give you a good example. I work in accounting. That's my full-time 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. I work with numbers all day, every day. But I don't use anything more advanced than add, subtract, multiply, divide, decimals, and fractions. That's it. I don't use trigonometry. I don't use statistics. I don't. So that level of stuff is not necessary. Now, granted, you can get into more complicated types of fractions and decimals and stuff, and even some of that's not necessary. But the education system currently requires, I think you have to take math through, I think you have to take at least 2 years of math in high school, or at least I think that's how it was when I was in school. I'm not even sure anymore. But yeah, there's completely no need to get any more advanced than that unless somebody's going into a math centric field like physics, or you're going to be like a mathematician or a math teacher. Anything beyond what I've said should be, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm saying there should be elective courses if kids want to take more advanced stuff than just the basics. But I'm talking as far as what is required. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, fractions, decimals, measurements. That's it. That and obviously you're going to advance, get a little bit more complex throughout the years. You know, like I said, kindergarten, you're going to be learning 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2. By the time you get to senior year, you should be able to work with more complex fractions and decimals, but that should be it. And like I said, I'm talking about required education. Science, kind of the same thing as math. I think everybody should have a basic understanding of science, biology, chemistry, but that's about it. Because let's be real. When you're 30 years old looking for a new job, nobody gives a shit if you got an A or a D in Miss Johnson's sophomore year chemistry class. Nobody gives a damn. It, I mean, unless you are in fact a chemist, in which case, uh, hopefully you've taken more than just Miss Johnson's sophomore year chemistry class. But yeah, like I said, just the basics is all that's necessary. Now, history is something that I think I think the way that it's done now is okay. You have different history classes pretty much in every grade. Like when you get to the high school level, you've got like world history, U.S. history. I think those are all that's really required at the high school level. But yeah, I think history is important to learn. True history, factual history is important to learn because like I said, that's how we know where we came from, how we got to where we are. So, some of the horrible things that have happened throughout the history of the world or the history of our own country. So, I don't think too much needs to be changed with that. I just think needs to be factual history that's being taught, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. Yes, kids need to learn about slavery and the horrible things that went on with the founding of this country, how the Native Americans were just decimated as the United States expanded. It, kids need to learn about that stuff. They need to learn about the ugly side of history so that it doesn't repeat itself. That's how we learn. Physical education. Here's where I think some major changes need to be made. Now, physical education is important. Physical activity, exercise, important for overall health and well-being. But again, kids are treated like little robots, like they're all exactly the same, and they're not, especially when it comes to physical ability. Everybody's different. You may have one kid in the class who can do 100 push-ups in 2 minutes, but not everybody's gonna be that way. And I think it's kind of stupid to have quote unquote physical standards. Like if you're 12 years old, you should be able to do this many push-ups and this many sit-ups and run this far in this amount of time. No, they're all gonna be different. That's why I think physical education should not be a graded class. It should be pass fail. It should be a matter of, are you doing whatever the activity is? Are you putting in the effort? Okay, just because you can't do 50 push-ups in a minute, you don't deserve to fail. You tried. Maybe you only did 30. Maybe you only did 20. You tried. You're doing your best. And as you go, you're going to improve. You're going to get stronger. But giving somebody a failing or low grade because they're not as strong as the person sitting next to them, no, that's not okay. That could be damaging to a kid. I know it didn't do great things for my mental health because I was a chunky kid. I couldn't do lots of push-ups and sit-ups and or run for super long periods of time. So, but I did my best. I did as many as I could. I ran as far as I could. And as I progressed throughout the years, I got better. I got stronger. I got faster. So I don't think it should be a graded class. It should be pass fail. And as long as you are putting in the effort, trying your best, participating in whatever the activity is, you pass. Period. End of story. Uh, Kind of the same thing, same thoughts that I have about art and music. It's good for kids to learn about these things, to be well-rounded people. But unless they're going to be an artist or a musician, it's not the end of the world if they can't draw well or they can't read, every single note on the music sheet, or if they don't sing well or whatever, however the music classes work in some schools. It should be a pass fail thing. Uh, that's just my opinion. Like I said, unless they're going to be an artist or a musician, and in that case, they'll opt to take more advanced classes later on in their education, where they will be graded A, B, C, D, F for their work and stuff like that. But just at a basic level, it should just be, pass fail. Again, are you participating in the class? Are you putting in the effort? Are you, learning what's being taught basically? Okay, great, you pass. Language. Now, I think it's a good thing for everybody to learn a foreign language, but the way that it's kind of done in schools seems so random because it's like they pretty much offer the same basic languages like in most schools, but I think the way that it should be done, and again, this is my opinion, but it just seems practical to me. Wherever the school is located, whatever the most spoken language is for that area, other than English, should be what's taught in the school. Like, example, I'm in Chicago. The most spoken languages here besides English is Spanish and Polish. So I think those are the two languages that should be offered in Chicago public schools. And kids can pick whichever one they want to take. That to me seems logical and practical. But there are schools that offer like Korean or German or whatever, French, things like that. But I think what should be offered in the schools is whatever language is most spoken in that area, because that is going to give these kids an advantage because they're going to be able to communicate. There's plenty of people in the city of Chicago whose first language is Polish or first language is Spanish. They may not speak English. So if a kid can learn one of those languages, they'll be able to communicate with that person. I think it gives them a huge advantage just in life. And granted, they may not live in Chicago their entire life. They may move to another city, but they are still able to speak a second language. And finally, a class that I think needs to be added because let me go back to PE for a second, physical education. Besides just actual physical activity in the class, I think it should also include a health and nutrition component because that is part of physical health. So besides just the regular physical activities, the exercise, the dodgeball, if they still play that, I don't know. I always thought it was fun. Dodgeball was fun. I don't care what people say. But besides the physical activity, a portion of physical education should be health and nutrition to teach kids about healthy eating, about the right things to eat and the things that should be only eaten maybe in moderation, like sugar and things like that, and teach them about their physical health, teach them about their bodies. And I know some people it can be embarrassing, and some parents don't want kids learning about like sexual health in school. Get over it. It's part of being human, and it's part of physical health, and it should be included in a physical education curriculum. And I'm not saying start teaching human sexuality at the kindergarten level. No, absolutely not. But it's something that should be taught. It's something that everybody needs to learn. But back to what I was saying, a class that needs to be added to our education system. I'm just going to call it life skills. Teach kids skills that they are going to need to get through life. How to read a simple contract like a lease. How to write a check. No, I mean, nobody actually uses checks anymore. At least I don't. I don't know many people that do other than businesses, but it's still a thing right now until it's no longer a thing ever anywhere. Teach them how to write a check, how to apply for a loan or a mortgage. Teach them basic cooking skills, how to feed themselves, you know, basic cleaning skills. And a lot of people say that this kind of stuff is responsibility of the parents. But again, purpose of school is to prepare you for the world. This is stuff that you need. And I'm not saying get super in depth with it, but just the basics. How to cook an egg. How to write a check. How to, driver education should be part of this this class, not it's typically part of PE. I never understood that. But driver education should be part of this class. How to drive a car, what the rules of the road are, how to just how to do basic stuff to survive, how to do laundry. This seems so stupid and simple and basic, but there are people out there who have no idea how to do any of this stuff because no one ever taught them. Not every parent is an award winner. Let's be real. There's some shitty parents out there who don't bother to teach their kids this stuff, but they still need to learn. Why not learn it in school? And this is the kind of stuff that literally any functioning adult can teach. You don't have to have a specialized degree to teach life skills, to teach people basic, just basic home stuff. It'd be kind of like a combination between home ec, driver's ed, and shop, all rolled into one class. With the driver's ed thing, teach people how to change your oil, how to change a tire, the basics. Like I said, how to cook an egg, how to survive, how to be a functioning adult. That is a class that is sorely needed in the education system. And that's pretty much all I got. I mean, I think the education system is too watered down. I think it needs to be more concentrated, more focused on what's important, and to hell with what's not important. Same thing at the college level. The first 2 years of college are just a rehash of high school. It's completely unnecessary. Let people focus on what they want to focus on. If you're going to college you want to be a biology major, start on that shit from the very beginning. Don't make me go back through everything I already learned the last 4 years in high school. I mean, that's why I ended up not finishing college, because the first 2 years, it's like I've already done all this. Why am I doing this again and spending however many thousands of dollars just to redo the same shit that I did in high school? It's ridiculous. Scale that shit down. The whole thing needs to be rethought, revamped. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's my thoughts on education. It needs to be more concentrated, more focused. The school days are too long. The school year is too long. Homework should not be a thing. I'm sorry, these kids going to school is basically their job. Like all of us adults have a job that we do 8 hours a day. I am not doing fucking homework for my job. Why the hell should kids have to bring that shit home with them? Because sometimes I know when I was in school, the amount of homework that we got was fucking insane. There were nights I was up until midnight doing homework. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be a thing. If the teachers can't teach what they need to teach in the time they're allotted during the school day, that's a them problem. Get somebody who can. These teachers each have they have basically an hour for each subject. So if you can't get your point across in an hour without assigning mountains of freaking homework, you need to find another career. That's just my thoughts. That's how I feel about education. It needs to be scaled down. It needs to be more focused, more concentrated. We need to teach these kids necessary life skills. We need to stop scrutinizing over subjective subjects like art and music and physical education. Not everybody's going to be at the same ability level. You can't treat them like they are. So those classes need to just be pass-fail. They're necessary classes. Like I said, PE necessary for overall health, art and music necessary to have well-rounded people. I get that. But those three classes need to just be pass fail because not everybody's going to be at the same level. So I think that's going to wrap me up for right now. That's my rant on the education system. I know a lot of people are going to have some shit to say about some of this stuff, and that's fine. But for right now, thank you again for watching or listening on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you get your podcast from. Again, I'm going to try my damnedest to be more consistent with putting episodes out. Ideally, I want them out every week, but at the very least, every other week. So, hope everybody had great holidays. Hope everybody's having a great new year so far. I plan to be back next week, so stay tuned, please. But again, thanks for watching or listening. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, share, rate, comment. All that stuff really helps out the show. Make sure you follow on social media. It's at DILLIGAF_pod on all socials. And you can find all that and more on my Linktree, which is Linktree/DILLIGAF_pod, or scan the QR code right there in the corner of your screen if you're watching the video. If you ever want to shoot me an email, it is dilligafpod@gmail.com. And as always, if anyone has any issues with anything that I have said here today, ask yourself one question. Do I look like I give a fuck?